Hi there, Robin here from Expert On, and today we're going to be talking about this guy right here, which is the incredibly just out of nowhere Alto Professional drops a TX212S, their 12-inch powered subwoofer at 450 watts to go along with their TX2 series tops. So Alto's gone to a lot of trouble with this subwoofer, not just because of its great price point and all the features on it, but how smart of an actual subwoofer it is. It was built to match up with their TX series speakers. So if you have anything from a TX208 all the way up to a TX215, this speaker will line up with it. They've gone to a lot of trouble with the way the technology works. So because they've incorporated DSP, they can, well, digitally process the entire system to do exactly what they want. Now they've taken the time to plug in all four of those speakers into the system. Now, not just for a crossover point. That would be too simple. They've gone and they've added in a time alignment. They've added in, of course, the active crossover and level matching. So this way, with their, let's say their TX208 and their TX210 series speakers, they run at 150 watts RMS with a peak of 300. You get to their 12 and their 15 inch, they double down on that power. Now you've got 300 with a 600 peak. That's not the only thing. You also have driver size changes, of course, with those. So not just wattage, driver size and time difference between here and well over there. So they need to make sure that subwoofer is going to match all of those things. So that's a big plus. It's something simple you wouldn't think about. Subwoofer either sounds good or doesn't sound good, but it's going to sound better if it's matched up properly with the type of top that's on it. That's why package sets like line arrays work out so well, because they've taken the time to engineer the whole thing to work as a package. And that's pretty much what's going on here. So you would think having a subwoofer that's pretty much lined up for their product would be good enough, but they added 2 more DSP features on the actual back. So this way, if you didn't have an Alto top, you can still buy this subwoofer, because they do give you a built-in, without, of course, time alignment or anything like that. They give you a crossover, a high pass at 100 hertz. And again, there's no level adjustments done on that one. And there's also no delay on that one. And then, of course, they always give you the full bypass mode, which basically puts the whole thing right through from the in and out on the back of the unit. So that's all there. Now, when we play it, that's a big difference. You really, it's noticeable, because there's so much of a difference power-wise between, let's say, their 10-inch and their 12-inch. When you actually hit the actual DSP button in the back, we are going to hear the difference. We're going to try that out today. We're going to have both of them set up on a table, and we'll be able to go between the 2 speakers and show you how exactly that works. Now, for overall box size, easy enough to carry, no more than any other top you might have. This is only 44, 45 pounds altogether, and it's simple. It's 16 by 16 by about 20 inches. So it'll fit inside any car, that's for sure. No special equipment required. You don't have to worry about putting wheels on it and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty straightforward in that sense. Outside of that, it is built out of MDF, and that's to manage the price, because we do need density in the box. Being a bandpass, it radiates a lot of bass out of the box. So we do need something that's going to be strong and hold its shape and not distort. That being said, I did use an onstage pole on the actual unit, and I realized after the fact that there's so much vibration, so much bass coming off here, not distorted from the box, but it was reverberating through the actual pole. And I realized I had to take the pole apart and tape up the drop pole inside, because it was adjustable height pole, and I had to tape that up to stop it from vibrating against itself. So little things like that you tend to find after the fact. But that was the pole, had nothing to do with the subwoofer. So let's take a closer look at the back of the unit. First, on the side, you do have handles. The handles are located on top, which are pretty nice, easy to carry, so nothing inconvenient. There are subwoofers that put the handles in some pretty wacky places and just makes everything so complicated. When we look at the back, you'll notice, we'll get a closer shot of this, but first we have the outside box screwed in, which is basically how they got the driver in here and how they got everything inside the unit. There's 20 screws that line up at the outside, and then you have the amp plate dropped on the inside. Now, when there's no cables or power cord connected to it, if this was on its backside, none of this would hit the ground. That's really important to make sure that, you know, safety, and you want to have longevity out of it. And people do accidental things like put it down the wrong way. And in this case, that's not going to hurt the machine. So let's get a closer look. So here we are, closer look at the back. We've got the Alto TX212 all labeled here, some information that we need to know. Plus at the bottom, we've got our safety stickers, which are always a big thumbs up for that. If we look down at the bottom, we're going to find out what kind of fuse setup we have. Plus we're also going to see the power consumption, which is 500 watts. The unit is set, in our case, for 110 volts. That's all internal. AC adapter. Now we get to the actual audio portion of it. We've got some combo jacks. We've got 2 channels coming into it, input 1, input 2. So we can use either XLR or 1/4 inch TRS setup for here. Then we've got our outputs just down below. Those are going to be XLR. Our actual volume control on the system indicates the signal level. Green is good, so yes, you're going to see this actively going the whole time you're using it. It will fade off into a red if it's really bad and you're hitting the limit. Normally I ran it at 0 dB. Didn't find I have to run it anymore. We have no problems having a unity issue when we play our music here, so we tend to leave it at 0. We've got an extended low frequency, so if you are just using it at, you know, 30%, 40, 50%, that sort of thing, and you're just playing around with that at home, let's say, you can add some extra bass if you want to, you know, hear the difference. Polarity, we can reverse it, have it forward, your choice. Then we have on top the actual DSP. This is where it's labeled TX208, 210, 212, 215, the high pass and the bypass. Now, if you do have an original TX series, like a TX8 or a TX10, I wouldn't have a problem just setting it up accordingly. You know, just drop that to the 2nd generation product and just line it up with that. I mean, you don't have to run out and buy a new set of tops. Then afterwards, you still have, like I said, the high pass, which is at 100 Hertz, and then the bypass down below, which will allow whatever goes in here to come out there. Now remember, up here, it's not just controlling the crossover point, it also has a time delay built into it, and it also has a signal leveling control between the input and the output to make sure that it's going to match the volume output of what's going on with the subwoofer with the proper volume output for the top. So on the top, you want to set it up at unity. They both should be proportionate to where they are, so this way the subwoofer can do its job properly. So there's a big plus. Like I said, straightforward, easy, there's no fans, there's nothing to make noise, so if you're going to use this at lower volume levels, no problem. D-class power amp, by the way. So what we're going to do now is we are going to demonstrate how this works. So we've got the TX210 beside it, and then we're going to swap it out for the TX212. And we're going to show you how the sound is different. So we're going to play the TX210 in its proper mode, and then I'm going to switch it off and put it into, let's say, the TX212. And you'll notice a difference in the sound, in the tone, so that's a big difference. Then we'll swap out the speakers. This is just to show you how much work the actual subwoofer is doing in getting the sound right for the top. Regardless of the volume level you're going to play it out, if you're running it at unity, you're going to match up really, really well. So that's a big plus. At the same time, I'll also mention the type of person that's going to want to buy this. Now, if you're DJing for fun or entertainment and, you know, you're working with crowds around 35, 50 people, you know, backyard stuff, rec rooms, you go to friends' houses, house parties, that sort of stuff, you're at college, it's just for fun, right? You may want to get 2 of these. You could start with 1, but you'll probably end up getting 2. The 12s are great for the top. If you need more volume or you need more projection for distance, then get into the 15s for tops. If you're a band, a garage band, or a band that just plays at a pub and you're playing at reasonable levels, remember we're talking about 70 dB, that sort of thing. That's going to make a big dramatic difference to have subs underneath your tops. It just gives you nice full sound. Remember, a lot of times it's not about how loud you're playing it, but how well it sounds. And that's the big difference. You know, you can always turn up the volume, but all you're going to do is make things louder. You're not going to make things lower or better. So with the subwoofer, you're definitely going to achieve a much better bottom end without having to compensate with bass and treble on your mixers or on your controllers. So that's a big plus. So it's definitely, if you're looking for a well-rounded, you can spend a lot of money on just one top, or you can spend a reasonable amount of money on a top and a reasonable amount of money on a subwoofer and end up with a much better package. if you're looking at playing around 70 dB. So that's like twice. That's regular house party level. That's, you know, that's what we're shooting for. I mean, you could probably get it up to 80 dB, but that's the reality of it. But at the end of the day, if you have something like this, don't intend to go out and be a wedding DJ guy who's going to play for 150 people in a room and, you know, 50 people on a dance floor. Not good enough. You probably have to get into their TS3 series subwoofers to do that. You know, anytime you think about it, how much am I getting paid for this as a DJ? If I am, I need to have a little bit more professional product for that. Now, that being said, again, if you're doing this for fun, if this is for your entertainment, if this is for your friends and family, at get-togethers, backyard parties, that sort of stuff, this is awesome. So let's take a listen to it, and I'll show you the difference between having a 10-inch connected to it versus a 12-inch connected to it. And remember, it's more about the DSP because it's going to do all the work. So there you go. So the big difference is, of course, volume, the overall volume of the two units when it comes to running what's happening at the top. It knows it wants to drive a specific amount of bass, so it's going to adjust that top level. So if it sounded a lot when I was cycling between the two, it got a lot louder and a lot sharper on the actual TX212 versus when we had just the actual TX210. So there you go. That's the idea of what's going on here. So like I said, it's a lot more than just a 12-inch subwoofer for a great price. It's a subwoofer with a lot of technology packed in the back of it. Their sheet goes on to say an awful lot of good things about it, and it's more or less, you know, they're highlighting all the big factors. Of course, there was power output that we talked about, and it's basically a D-class amplifier, so it's high efficiency, gets us a lot of punch for our money. You got the 12-inch, you got a 2-inch high temperature voice coil on it, so that's a good thing. The combo jacks that we talked about in the back, along with the XLR outputs, which is what we've been making all this work on. So there you go. It goes on and on. Rugged design. Yes, we didn't talk about the texture finish, but very nice, very solid piece of work. Worth buying. Again, if you're a small band playing in small bars and pubs and you need to entertain 30 to 50 people, this might be a good way to go. Depending on the style of music, you may decide to have two of them, but remember, the weight is the big plus on this. Normally, I wouldn't recommend a TX212 or TX215 if you're out gigging, but if you're combining them with these subwoofers to build a better sounding package, then it certainly does make, as a package, a really good system. So there you go. I hope you like what you watched today. I hope this is going to help you make a decision on buying a subwoofer. And remember, you can always find this either on our website. We'll have links for that down below. Also, for our US viewers, we've got our Amazon link, and for now, you'll also find it at Guitar Center. So here you go. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And for now, we'll see you on the next video. Remember to subscribe and hit that pin button. It always helps out. Bye for now.